Hi, I'm Seth Miller, and I'm with Thomas Ward, and we're on Beyond the Smoke.
But let's go back into your career.
Okay.
Where do you start?
So I started at a restaurant called Miller's Seafood, and I was actually born into the business, and that's in Tampa, Florida. I'm from Tampa.
So your family was in the seafood business?
So my family had a little strip center where we had a fish market and a seafood restaurant. And so I learned really young not only to go through production, like cut fish, break down whole fish, but actually to see it through the process of through the kitchen and waste utilization. And I mean, like 12 years old. So when you see these things, they become very natural. And when you see it in a larger scale, it's really not as intimidating. But I'm most proud of my young time, my being young and being in the restaurant business, is I could actually read a scale, an old scale, not a digital scale. I could count money back. And, you know, who does that now? I mean, you give cash to someone and they
don't know what to do with it.
They're struggling. And so we had to count money back. We had to read the scale with the old-timey scale with the line, and you had to add the zero. And, those are skills that you kind of take for granted, but it was cool. So I really enjoyed that. And out of my family, I think I have two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. I think for some reason it just clicked with me more so.
They're not in the restaurant business?
So my younger brother, yes, he is. He's a chef.
Okay.
So he loves to cook.
Okay.
My older brother, no, he's in the mortgage business.
Mortgage.
So
he's the intelligent one.
He is. He got out. He was smart. He ran.
Smart, yeah.
He ran and never looked back. But
so that's good that you started with that because I was listening to Steve Jobs before he passed away. He did a speech in Stanford, and he said something about connecting the dots. And it's important because I saw it in my life and probably yours as well, is when all of a sudden you're doing something that you think you're never going to do in your life. And later on, it becomes such a skill that's an advantage in the position that you're in. So for you, learning fish, which is such a hard thing to do if you're not immersed in it.
It is. I mean, seafood right now is more expensive than beef. I mean, sea bass, $32, lobster, $30 a pound, king crab legs, $50 a pound. I mean, seafood's through the roof. But it teaches you to really care for things. And my dad was a real kind of like mayor of the city, a real kind of gregarious, big, larger-than-life type person who I mean, at the time, I felt like he was working me to death, teaching me a lesson. But it really, I think the hospitality piece I really got from him, where it's like look people in the eye, shake their hand, make conversation, get to know people on a different level.
How about your mom? Was she different?
My mom she was really cool. She was kind of the glue, as in a lot of families.
Yeah.
But my mom worked the cash register, so she was kind of the keeper. Okay. But she was also balancing us with everything, school and sports and the restaurant business.
But she was involved in the restaurant, which is great.
Every day I got picked up from school, whatever, 2:30, 3:30. I go to the restaurant. I was raised by restaurant people. And so that's it. You do your homework and you go find some work to do. You really have to support. It's a real family business. So I could really relate to Talk of the Town and being part of a family. It's important. Like everybody's got to pull their weight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have empathy for the people that are struggling because you love them and you care about them and you want to pull them along. So, being in a family business is really interesting, and I think it was important.
It also probably helped you to learn the family dynamics of dealing in a family business, because I always say this. I mean, I used to be in my family business. It's hard, man. The relationships between brothers and sisters and parents and kids, it's hard, because it develops. Obviously, for me, I didn't understand my dad's pressure at the time, obviously. Like, I was just a kid. So my dad had an ice cream company. So they would pick me up and take me to the trucks and have them, hey, go over there, fill that up. I didn't understand it at the time. Obviously, later on in life, you discover that it gives you your work, your work habit. Because I worked hard when I was a kid, and now I like to work hard. Like, I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't know if that's the same feeling that you got as you moved into a family business that wasn't your own.
It was never as easy for our folks as it was for us. That's a fact.
Yeah.
My family business was. It was. I mean, I really don't know how to describe it. It wasn't really that complex.
It wasn't.
Now, talking to town family is a little more complex because you have. Well, with Charlie,
You have 3 generations.
3 generations, and that can get very tricky because you're getting insight from each, and you have to be very careful about understanding how to make everyone happy and really still achieve the goal, because everybody really has a different idea. Very rarely do they all agree. They all have, because they all think differently. Charlie's really was a restaurant guy. He was really an operator. Ron is a visionary. So Ron thinks way outside the box.
Right.
He's thinking about restaurant building of this. He builds all the restaurants himself and how to do things in a way that no one's ever thought to try it before. And Clark is
The new generation.
and he's CIA. So he went to Culinary Institute. He's very in the trenches, understanding the product, the processes. So it's interesting, the 3 layers. But I'll tell you, it's an amazing family, and it really starts with them. I mean, they have to really care in order for this thing to work, and they do. And so it makes it easy for me. It was really a natural fit. It was good.
After you leave your family business, where do you head to? You studied where?
So I went to Florida State.
Florida State.
Yeah. So after I finished college, I'm like, what am I going to do? I love the restaurant business. Opened up a restaurant. So I opened up a place in Valdosta, Georgia.
Wow.
Which is close to Tallahassee. And it was actually at the time, this was 1989. It was right before the first Gulf War. And if you know anything about that area, there's a big Air Force base in Valdosta.
Yes.
I mean, as big as MacDill. It's huge. So when the war broke out, I was already in business for like 6 months, 9 months, and I was killing it. We were doing great. It was similar to like a Shell's. Shell's was in the original Shell's. Everything was fresh executed.
Sure.
It was really well done. Very simple menu, and like fresh fish, fried shrimp, and things like that. But anyway, I was doing really well, and the war broke out, and then I wasn't doing well. So my first restaurant, I went bankrupt.
But it just shifted like that? Like when the war hit, it just changed?
We went from doing, I remember, $25,000 a week, which was great.
Yeah. Just like that.
Overnight.
Oh,
Overnight.
Man.
So-
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, it's a great learning experience. I packed up, moved back to Tampa,
Okay.
and I went to work for Bennigan's.
When at the time it was
blowing up.
Blowing up.
This is the early 90s. This is actually before Hurricane Andrew. So loved it. They were open till 2 or 3 in the morning. So I just loved the energy. It was great. I became a GM in Macon, Georgia. I said, I'd never go back to South Georgia. Hey, we have a spot for you, Macon, Georgia. Okay, we're going back. So anyway, I'm Jewish, so I had to tell everybody I was Italian. Yeah, I'm like, there ain't no way.
I was Italian.
Italian. But anyway, I loved being there. I love being in South Georgia. I mean, you talk about really loyalty and
hospitality.
like true hospitality,
True
like
Southern
Southern
hospitality,
hospitality. And I really loved it. The Albany Dam broke. And basically, South Georgia flooded completely. So, all right, that's like a sign,
Man, you're getting
Yeah.
kicked in the ass.
So, yeah, I said, hey, time for a change. So I was researching Brinker. Brinker was sort of the pinnacle. I mean, it was like you
they
want to
were
work.
buying everything.
You want to work for Norman Brinker. And so I did some research, and then I liked Grady's American Grill, which was like an up and coming concept for them. It was the Regas family out of I think they were out of Tennessee.
Are those the Regas family that still own, I think, some of these office, like short-term office?
I don't
No?
know. Could be.
Could be. Yeah.
But they were restaurant people, and they were trying to model themselves after Houston's, and they were they were doing a pretty good job of it. The food was amazing, and they were doing, good volume, 100 grand a week back in the 90s.
That was pretty good.
So anyway, I went to work for them, and again, my travels, I'm in Texas, I'm everywhere, and I ended up in Atlanta, which I love Atlanta. This is back in the day when it was a different Atlanta. It was a lot of fun. Ate sushi for the first time. Had my first martini at the Highland Tap or Highland somewhere. Anyway, there was a lot of life-changing experiences. So I had a server. His name was Jeff Scalar. He worked lunch, and at night he worked at Morton's Steakhouse. And so he used to come in every day and tell me how much he loved Morton's, but he worked lunches too for me. And I'm like, well, tell me about this. I've never been to a Morton's. I don't even know anything about Morton's. He said, it's a great company, and, he said, I'm making $300-400 a night. I said, well, maybe I'll be a server and go back to school and, try to figure things out. Because in the restaurant business, and we talked about that earlier, you're always kind of looking for
the next thing.
Or a way out. You're thinking, hey, there's got to be something better.
A way out.
Yeah. So anyway, I said, listen, let me go talk to your manager. Great guy, Paul Owens, who's the GM at Buckhead. So anyway, I go over and I talk to him, and he's like, hey, you should be a manager, not a server. I'm like, well, I know nothing about fine dining. Never worked in fine dining. I don't know anything about wine. We saw 3 wines. I think Mondavi or Kendall Jackson or... He goes, you can do it. So anyway, I made the decision. I went to work in training as a manager at Morton's. And this was in the early 2000s. No, in the 90s.
No, in the 90s, late 90s.
95.
Yeah.
95. Yeah, holy man, I'm old.
No, it's funny because we used to go to Morton's in Puerto Rico in the Caribe Hilton.
Yeah.
And there's this guy, Tony. I don't know if you ever met him, but Tony now lives in Orlando.
Was he the maitre d'?
Yeah. And he was fantastic. And I saw him the other day, and I'm like, holy shit, Tony. I haven't seen you in 20 years.
What other restaurant had maitre d's? I mean, what a concept.
It was fantastic.
I wore
and
tux
the lockers.
every day. Oh, yeah. I loved it.
The whole ambience was just a step above to any steakhouse.
I agree.
Right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know right now. I think
they've changed, and they've readjusted to the new way of doing business, right? To me, there's 2 things that guests crave, high-end guests, or any guests, I think, but especially someone spending a lot of money. They have different expectations, I think,
You're right.
But I know they crave 2 things, people in general. They want to, number one, be appreciated. So I want to walk in and, does anyone care that I'm here?
Your name.
Right.
I want to know, you have to know a lot about that.
And you got it. The other thing is recognition. They want someone to know, hey, nice to see you again, even if you don't know their name. They want a little recognition, like, hey, I made this decision to come here and spend my money. I want to, give me something. It doesn't have to be something monetary or free, but there has to be some sort of recognition that says to the guest, not only do we appreciate you, but we're going to recognize the fact that we do.
Let me ask you this. Don't you think that's changed in today's standards?
Yes, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right?
No. And you don't have to...
it exists some places.
You don't have to be a maitre d' to provide that. It can be done by a host, but, opening the door for a guest, or when the door opens up, making eye contact and welcoming the guest into your restaurant, sometimes is all the recognition that's needed. You get the old thing is where you walk in, how many, and that just doesn't get it anymore. No one will win with that type of service or that level of hospitality. So anyway, I'm with Morton's, and I'm loving it, and I'm learning, and I got my tux on. I'm feeling great. Seating every guest, pulling out every table,
sure,
folding every napkin, opening every bottle of wine, and learning, and really learning about wine, and learning about food, and learning about the really striving for perfection, like being laser focused on whatever is in front of you. So if I'm the pit cook or I'm the broil cook, and I'm cooking steaks, I'm laser focused on what's in front of me, trying to remove distractions through processes, really good processes. And Morton's did a great job of that. They kept we had a training. The training was cards. And so you could break down even a station. It might have been like pantry with 7 cards. And you could break down to where it was like 1 card might have been like a wedge salad. And it would teach you about not only like the ingredients and the dish breakdown, but the critical steps. Like, what is the thing that will go wrong if you don't pay attention?
Right.
That sort of thought process we applied, and I'll get to that with Talk of the Town.
Sure.
But the training at Morton's was unbelievable.
Understanding the business.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah, it
because
is.
a lot of people don't see it the same way.
No, they see it more task oriented. Like, I have a task, I'm doing my task, and and we really try to get people to think outside of a task oriented mentality and put it back into hospitality. Like, if you're busy and I just got sad at table 201 and you're running there, but you might run by 2 guests that you might run in front of, or you don't make eye contact and say welcome. And those critical steps are so important to the guest experience, because they may not care that the person walked in front of them, but how does it make them feel to have that recognition and appreciation from someone that just works there? Every guest, great to see you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate your business. And so we try to get our employees to think about getting out of the task mentality. It's like, yeah, you got to do your job. Lift your head up. Have fun. Relax. You know your job. We've trained. We've practiced. We're ready. It's game time. It's the Super Bowl. Every day is the Super Bowl. It is. And we have to win. And when we don't win, make sure we do whatever it takes to make the guests feel appreciated, because that's all they want. Even when we screw up, they just want to know you care.
I don't have experience in the restaurant business. I started with a food truck. So with pigs, I remember that I used to read the bad reviews, and I still do it sometimes. Like, I would write them back and say, hey, give me your address. I'll take you some food right now. And people would go nuts. They would be like, I can't believe you're doing that. I mean, but that's the business that we're in. This is what pays the bills.
You got to address the bad ones.
You got to address the bad ones as well as the good ones.
You got to address the good ones.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time getting upset over bad reviews. This has been a few years, but I think everybody has. You get a bad review, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And what we really said is, you know what? We have to change our thinking on that too. We have to develop an advocacy mentality where it's like 97% of the people love us. Mm-hmm. Why are we
focusing on the 3?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's get after this 97. Mm-hmm. So we started putting all our energy, 100% of our energy, into the advocacy campaign, where it's like, if a guest sends us a nice review, we send them a $25 gift card right away. The GM sends them a personal note. It's not about $25. It's about next drinks on me. I want to meet you. I want you next time you're in the restaurant. And then the 3%, whatever it takes. If you got to buy them another dinner to come back in, that's the cost of doing business. We're not perfect. But I would rather catch it in the restaurant.
Always.
But listen.
That doesn't happen very often, though.
Our people are human, and they have flaws, but we allow the guests to leave, and I'm like, whatever it costs. If it costs you, buy their dinner and another $250 comp.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. You create another advocate. You move them over to the other side, and now you have 98% and 2%.
People love to talk about positivity and like positive places and good experiences.
Oh, for sure.
So it's just basically free advertising.
I agree.
And I think a lot of people focus on the fact that, I need to market my business, or I need to be in this show so that people recognize my restaurant. And I'm always towards like, no, let's make sure the food is really good and the service is really good. And then we don't have to worry about advertising.
Absolutely.
Right? We just have to worry about executing. And that's the tough part, because, as you as an operator and as a manager and taking care of this business, you always have to look at the details. And a lot of people don't focus on the details anymore because we're so busy and there's so much to do.
And when you're at the top, there's only one place to go.
Down.
Yeah. How do you stay up? How do you stay up? So we have we do some cool things on the culinary side. We have a test kitchen that we built about 5 years ago at our corporate office, full test kitchen. So every Friday we take 5 items on our menu. We do some R&D and we do some menu innovation, but really what we focus on is looking at 5 items that are on our core menu every week.
Really?
So we break them down. We look at the ingredients. We taste them again. We do whatever we can in terms of like providing better ovens, like the new Vector ovens, or whatever there is to reduce cook time or produce a better quality product for our guests. That's awesome. And we spend a lot of time on the food because we're restaurants. I mean, I know people are coming for hospitality and all these service and these other things, but if the food sucks,
you're in trouble.
Right. You have no chance. So we spend a lot of time on the food, which is why I know we live in the same building, and you probably see me coming back from the gym a lot because man, I eat a lot.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. I eat a lot, and I love food. There's not one food I don't like.
Do you think that your years at Morton's, because of the training and how well that company was situated at that time, that it made your career a lot easier understanding now doing multiple units and stuff like that? Or do you feel that's something that you learned with the Woodsbys?
When I went to work for Ron Woodsby, his business model was to find guys like me that were good operators, good managers, and make you a partner. Okay. So he is really an absentee owner. I mean, you never hear from Ron.
Really?
And this is, so when I started with him, almost 20 years ago at Moonfish, he said, "Here's the keys. Don't call me." And so for me, that was great because I had that entrepreneurial spirit. Like I wanted to be my own boss. So I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity. And then you had a piece of the business. So at the end of every month, there were no budgets. There was nothing, which is a lot different than Morton's where you're in a corporate culture. The end of the month, you get your profits. You take your cut. He takes his. And
good luck.
Let's do it again. Let's rewind.
Really? And
we were still doing almost $1 million months back then at $35 a head. We were dinner only. Jesus. It was 300 to 400 guests every day. Just rocking and rolling.
Holy shit.
Ron opened Lake Mary Fishbones in 2004, end of 2004. And he had a partner that he hired, like me. And the restaurant did $6 million its first year and lost money.
I heard that was a difficult spot at the beginning.
In 2005, he called me, which I never talked to him. He's like, "Hey, Seth. Hey, who is this?" "Oh, it's Ron Woodsby." "Hey, what's up?"
Hey.
He said, "I need you." "All right, I'll meet you up there." So he goes, "Meet me up in Lake Mary." He told me the situation. He said, "You need to turn this restaurant around, whatever it takes," which was a little unusual because we had 9 other restaurants, or actually at that time 8.
Okay.
3 Charlies, and that were 20-year guys. He knew, he didn't tell me at the time, he wanted a corporate culture. He wanted to be able to step away and have the restaurant run, and like we were running as independents, even for ourselves. So we didn't have like buying power. We didn't do anything.
You guys were buying each independently?
Like partners, like it was my restaurant and I would buy for me. And so if I was running long on fillets, I'd throw them in the garbage instead of giving them to Charlie's. So we weren't even sister restaurants. We were competitors.
Why did that make sense to him at that time?
Because I think he liked us competing against each other. He thought, it
was a competitive environment. These guys are just going to be.
He was like, I hired these guys that, with the exception of me, all multi-unit guys from Darden, and a lot of them were Olive Garden guys that were like vice presidents or area directors, and I wanted to be competitive. So I got into Lake Mary, and it was just run the restaurant, just do what you do. We turned it around. We were making money by the end of the year. I said, "Okay, I'll go back to Moonfish." He goes, "No." He goes, "I don't want anyone calling me anymore." I said, "Okay." So anyway, that kind of started me into
multi-unit,
running more restaurants. And he didn't give them to me all at once. He said, "I'll keep an eye on Tampa. You do this, you do that." And at that time, Clark was finishing. He was the opening chef at Johnny's. So he was earning his stripes and working through. So Clark was emerging, and the rest is just over time. We started building our team. We started removing people that were there and bringing in our own people. And Aman Tazi, who's my director of ops, she was the GM at Timpano, amazing. She's been with me 12 years now.
She's been a long time.
And she's phenomenal. Adam Santorelli and John McCarthy are my senior partners, so they oversee multiple restaurants now.
Okay.
So we're building kind of our hierarchy now. We have long tenured operating partners in all our restaurants, the 6 that we have.
So you still kept that kind of idea where that person that runs that restaurant is a partner?
We want you to have ownership in the restaurant. The only thing is it's a little bit more corporate where, like a lot of things that are wasteful, like a beverage program. So we created a core wine list. It gives us more buying power.
Sure.
We want to make sure that, we had $1 million in wine inventory at Vito's when I took over. $1 million. Well, 300,000 of it was bad. We threw it away. Nothing we could do with it. So there was so much buying, unlimited buying. The restaurants were doing, Vito's was doing 5 or 6 million. We started writing budgets, which I still write the budgets today. Every month, I write the budgets for the restaurants, and they have, we everything's based on sales. So we try to keep the beverage inventories at
Controlled.
Yeah. Equal to the total sales.
Sure.
So if they want to, if Opus allocation comes out, of course, they have to get approval. Hey, I want to spend over $1,000. No problem. Bring it into your restaurant. But we control all that. Our meat buying now, we have contracted pricing. So we protect ourselves when the meat prices are high. Things like that have really helped our business elevate, because those are tools that the restaurant shouldn't have to worry about. Like, we'll provide you those tools. You focus on hospitality, focus on doing your job. We still cut meat in the restaurants. So our managers, we still have bandsaws. Our managers,
really?
Oh yeah, they butcher. And it's important for us because we want to control the center of the plate. And it's costly. So we control the center of the plate. We have specs and guidelines on everything. We even have a fish ruler. It's like that fish better be in that thickness of that ruler. Yeah.
Okay.
The
specs have to be exact.
We want them to be close. We want to, again, everything's a guideline for me. It's like nothing is written in stone, because I think that when you start drawing lines, people fail. And we want our people to succeed. We want them to feel good about what's going on. So it's really just guidelines. It's like, always put the guests first, put your employees first. And if we win, if the guest is happy and the employee's happy, then it's okay if you have to make some, adjustments to the things that are going on.
When you go from one unit, obviously, how did you make a change in that restaurant to become profitable? Because, I think that's a culture thing. It's not necessarily like a product thing, right? At that point, you have to come in and kind of change the whole culture of the restaurant. Because I think a lot of people don't realize, and I don't know if you share the same notion, but that the restaurant kind of takes the personality of that person that leads it, that manager.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right? So if that manager is terrible, your culture is going to be terrible.
The thing is connecting with our guests and our employees, making people feel valued. And also, obviously, the training was non-existent. Mm-hmm. We wanted everyone to, like I said, be laser focused. Like, what is my goal? Like, if a guest walks in, what do I say? Talking points. When I answer the phone, what do I say? And we walk through every scenario for every position, like from the front to the server to the food runner, like making sure the guests have what they need. They drop the food and then they don't have a knife, or they don't have a fork, or they need a refill on their tea, or they want another drink. Like, it's food and service.
It's simple, right? But people really complicate it.
And then optics too. Like, the restaurant's got to be clean. The light bulb's got to be working. The uniform's got to be like Houston's, that uniform.
Clean.
And people still talk about that 30 years later. Like, everything has got to be right. And that's really what we did. We sort of just got in there and brought it back to standard, created a standard and brought it to standard, and the business took off. The The one thing about restaurant business is people really have short-term memory. If you can have 20 bad experiences, but for some way you can get that guest back into that restaurant and you can blow them away, they're like, man, this place is
fantastic. We're coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could turn people really quickly. One thing that we did was pretty cool. We know people love wine and food, and they love wine experiences. So we did it was called Summer Wine Series, where we were doing a wine dinner at Fishbones every week for $50.
Okay.
And we kept it small, like 40 guests. And so we had waiting lists every week. And that started to create buzz and got people to come into the restaurant that were maybe had bad experience or had given up on us. And that sort of reignited a little bit. And really, we have people that are in the restaurant now. So that was 17, 18 years ago, still there. Like, make sure that we do everything we can to reinvest in our team so they stay. Because that's the key to success. We want to make sure that our team members stay. And we reward 20-year, 15-year, 10-year.
I just saw it on your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
that was great.
To
see 15 years, 20 years. I mean, how do you do that? Because for us, it's so difficult. We have such, like, I don't want to say, 6 months, a year. They want to join us for that time, just like a middle kind of job while they figure it out. But then I don't know if it's just the development option or you think that the opportunity of going to another restaurant and growing is the thing.
You have to stay committed to your A's. So I hate to say this, but
it's the truth, though.
But when we reopened, so after the pandemic, we opened one restaurant at a time, and I said, I have to approve every employee that comes back. Everyone was eligible to come back and keep their full benefits and everything. We furloughed all our hourly team members. We kept 100% of our managers. We kept them on salary. They did wine training and stuff. Or we had like 20 managers in one restaurant, but we kept our managers. But our hourly people, they could come back and go right back to where they were. Keep their tenure. Okay. So anyway, I said, but I have to approve everyone. And I had to have hard conversations with people that I love to say, like, you're really good, but you're not an A. And I'm bringing back the only A's right now.
Okay.
And then maybe the next round, I might bring back B's. And people are like, why would you do that? And I said, because I wanted everyone to know that we're taking it to a new level. And if you're not going to give us 120%,
we don't want
you. You can't work here. We want you, but you just can't work here unless because everyone's got the skill set, the ability. It's just for some reason they make the decision that they don't want to do it, or for whatever reason, and it could be a lot of things. It could be
whatever's going on.
Distracted. In their life, listen, everybody's got a life.
Yeah.
But what we found is that the people that we brought back really appreciated it. It's like we're not carrying people anymore. And it's like everyone works hard. Everyone pulls their weight. I'm like, oh, we may be on to something, because in every restaurant, you're always like, well, you got your 20% that are superstars, your 20% that are the bottom, that are revolving door, and then the middle is everybody's just kind of there. Right? So what we realize is that now everyone that we bring on, the people that we brought back that are so appreciative they're managing it for us. They're saying, listen, you do your job or you can't be on this team. And that's not from our managers, those from our team members. They expect people to pull their weight now, which I think is amazing. And I'm glad that we approached it that way, because I think if we would have just brought everyone back,
it would have been the same thing.
I don't think that we could have elevated anything. I think we would have actually probably gone in the other direction. But everyone's done well, and we've paid, and the guests have paid, because inflation is an interesting thing. When you raise the price to $55, or whatever for our filet and our sides and our desserts and everything's way more expensive. Well, we're paying our employees a lot more. But a lot of it's commission based, for our servers. So they're making a ton of money right now.
They're happy.
They're happy. So really, the guess is, I thank you to all our guests.
Thank you for the other guests. Yeah,
you're
right. The guests are the first thing.
They're paying for these raises. But I really feel that, hey, $55 for a steak, there can be value in that. If you get the most amazing filet with the most amazing service in a great environment and have the time of your life, $55 is nothing.
How are you guys moving forward in today's, I want to say fast-paced world, right? So where the Ruth Chris are spending $5 million to do a renovation because it's just time that their restaurants are just old. Are you guys moving towards that direction?
Yeah, we actually purchased a property in Tampa, very near our current location. Charlie's International Drive and Tampa are two flagship locations.
Flagships, yeah.
They're busy. They do 400 or 500 guests every day.
Wow.
So they're very, very busy restaurants. We have a piece of land that's really close. I could probably throw a football and hit it. I could. I'm not sure if you could.
I'm not that good.
So we're going to build a 2-story restaurant there that's going to actually be we don't have a lot of private dining in that location like we do at the Charlie's on International.
But it'll be a Charlie's?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we actually purchased another piece of property in Sarasota in the UTC area.
Okay.
So we're going to
So you guys are expanding and building the new restaurants and everything?
Slowly, but we haven't built a restaurant since Johnny's, and we're due. So that's 14 years. So you have to stay relevant. We which I don't know if you're aware of, we have an amazing foundation that we started about 4 years ago.
I'm not. Tell us about it.
So it's a Talk of the Town Restaurant Group Foundation. So what we do every month, and you should check it out online. It's a pretty good story. We support a different local charity every month.
Okay.
Every single month. So this month we're doing Gina McReynolds. She's a lady that passed away from breast cancer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we'll ask our guests to round up every check. So if they're spending, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a dinner,
round up and give some.
And usually they round up. The average restaurant will do $30 to $100 a night.
Okay.
So times 6, times 30. Then we host a dinner, one dinner a month, where we do like raffles or like silent auction.
Okay.
And talk with the charity. Like
with the people and everything, yeah.
We invite a lot of people from our database, and they get involved if it's something that is important to them. So we raise an average of $30,000 to $50,000 a month.
Holy shit.
Every month. So next month's PAL, we do Police Athletic League. We do Special Olympics is a huge one. Kids Beating Cancer. Your neighbor, Sam, who's the CEO of Kids Beating Cancer, we do a month for them. Nate's Animal Honor Rescue. Freedom Ride.
So you're in the community.
No one knows.
Ingrained.
We keep it under the radar.
You do, because I haven't found out about it till now.
But we have given cash in the last 4 years almost $2 million.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Quietly.
We give 100% to the charities. That's probably to me the thing I'm most proud of, because our employees love it. They love the fact that we're giving back, and we're really making a difference in a lot of these important needs. Actually, one of our roundups is right on in Paramore, Frontline Outreach.
Okay, yeah,
you know where it is.
I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's on John Young. But anyway, there's so much at-risk youth in our own backyard. Carrie and I have always been involved with Take Stock, which is a mentoring. And you meet a student when they're at 7th grade, and then you mentor them till they graduate, and through the program they get their college paid for.
Oh, really?
So both Carrie and I did that, and actually I did the pilot. Well, the student that I mentored he's right now in med school.
No fucking way.
Yeah,
that's
Simon
so
trained.
Great.
So we wanted to take it to another level. So that was foundation. So the foundation in the last, before our foundation, the first thing we did where we realized we had a little power is at Pulse. we're like, we want to do something. We feel like it's our responsibility to do something. So we made koozies, rainbow koozies, and we made a drink. We put the koozie in the drink.
Okay.
Or the drink in the koozie.
And you donated all the proceeds?
That's right. And we raised 25 grand.
Did you?
So now for the hurricane, I'll show you what we just did.
I think we donated food to them. We fed all the police officers. Yeah, I just saw it. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll give 100% of the profits from that drink to the victims of Hurricane Ian.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they keep the koozie. So it's served just like that.
Okay.
In the koozie.
This cruisy.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's it.
So anyway, a lot of people don't know about what we do with our foundation, but it really is important to us to give back and be a relevant part of the community. I mean, listen, we are the largest independent restaurant group in Central Florida.
In Central Florida, right?
So it's a responsibility to do more. I think.
So you guys have Charlie's, Vito's, Moonfish is gone. But you have
So we have 3 Charlies. We have Tampa, 192 in I Drive.
Okay.
And then Vito's. And then Fishbones in Lake Mary.
Right.
And then Texas Cattle Company.
In Lakeland.
In Lakeland.
Okay. I just want to go and just peep at that volume because I love it. I love volume. I think it's just such a great feeling when you have that amount of people just wanting to come to your restaurant.
Yeah. We don't take it for granted.
You can't.
We fight for it. There's only one way to go.
Down. Thanks for your time. This was great. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm going to sit here to subscribe. Hello? Subscribe.